Hey you buddies, Mr. Pugly here coming at you another Wonderlands video. Today I want to show you the build that I'm most likely going to play day one. So day one, I'm going to pick Spore Warden, but only for the fact that allows me to combo with a bunch of other classes, because personally, and probably forever, I'll probably be a Clawbringer main. Just because Clawbringer is just the type of character I like. It's kind of paladin-like, it has a cute little pet, I love stuff like that. But I'm going to be showing you the build that I'm going to bring into day one that is going to have a lot of combos and should deal lots and lots of damage very, very efficiently. It allows you to synergize a certain gimmick in the Clawbringer tree that is going to be pretty nutty if you can do it correctly. But before we get into the meat and potatoes of the video, I just want to tell you that I'm going to be streaming 5+ hours for the first 2 weeks of every single day of Wonderlands when it first comes out. So make sure you're following me on Twitch on the top right. And if you love Wonderlands content, you're in a perfect place for it, because I'm going to be posting 5 videos a day for the first 2 weeks of Wonderlands as well. So if you're not already, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and follow me on Twitch on the top right. And let's get into it.
Legendary? Whoa! No way, dude!
So for my Spore Warden and Clawbringer build, I'm going to try to optimize the Clawbringer capstone Storm Smite. Now Storm Smite, every single time you activate an action skill, they call down elemental bolts that deal fire and electric damage to all nearby enemies. We're not sure if these electric bolts deal the fire and electric at the same time. Kind of hard to tell, and the only reason why I say it like that is because we actually got proof on how this capstone will look in the game from the most recent gameplay event that was streamed actually today. We also got to know some values from the Spellborn tree because of this gameplay event, so I'm going to briefly discuss that. We have values for font of mana, we have values for imbued weapon, high thread count, double knot, sever the thread, and I'm pretty sure that's it. The only significant thing is that sever the thread has a short cooldown of 5 seconds. So for those of you who were going to use fadeaway spam, aka from the shadow with Stabbomancer and Multiclass in the Spellshot, getting this capstone to, in theory, instantly reset your spells really, really quickly and just constantly spell them during your fadeaway duration. You can't quite do that because there is a cooldown. So for those of you that want to do that combo, you might want to build a little bit different, but you could kind of do it, just not as effectively as we once thought. Now let's go back to the Spore Warden Clawbringer. This is a clip that shows you Storm Smite and it's all its glory right here. So I'm going to press play and we should be able to see it. She's casting her hammer, which activates Storm Smite, and we can see lightning bolts come around all around the map. So it's only there for a few seconds, but we're going to do it one more time. Watch one more time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There we go. That was 5 lightning bolts. All these lightning bolts look exactly the same. So it's possible that each one of these lightning bolts will deal shock and fire instead of just fire, but we'll have to wait and see. And when I say that is that some people are theorizing that some lightning bolts will be fire and some lightning bolts will be lightning because it says or, but they didn't seem to change colors at all, but there's no enemies nearby, so that might not be a great example. A better example of this is when she activates her action skill right here. We can see her activate it. It's kind of hard to tell what damage number is what, but we can see it dealing shock damage right there for the most part, but I think they might have been using fire weapons, so it's kind of hard to see 100% on how the skill works. So there's not many great examples of Storm Smite, but there's 2 right there. Because we're trying to optimize Storm Smite, we're going to want to, of course, use an action skill that has multiple charges. Now, Barrage is one of the few action skills that has multiple charges. I think there might be one other, or at least one other, that regenerates really quickly. Now, this says it has multiple charges. It's possible it has 2, it's possible it has 3. We don't really know. I'm willing to bet it has 2, but it'd be really cool if it had 3. Because it has multiple charges, it allows us to optimize our Storm Smite. But not only that, Spore Warden and Clawbringer both have points in their skill tree that optimize action skill cooldown, with Clawbringer's dedication and Spore Warden's Bounty the Hunt. Now, we don't know the values of Bounty the Hunt, but it's safe to assume that it will help us get our barrages quicker to optimize Storm Smite. So I'm going to show you how I'm going to build these 2 characters. I'm going to go through it one by one, and eventually we'll talk about the hero stats and what we would choose. So first things first, we're going to obviously do a lot of gun damage. We're going to try to get into the fray as well. So melee might be something we want to optimize, but gun damage is more than likely going to be our main priority because it is Borderlands type game. So we're going to get 5 points in the Oath of Fire, which gives us 20% more more bonus fire damage with all of our guns, which is excellent, as well as getting bonus elemental damage from Dragon Aura. This will allow us to deal more damage to Storm Smite, as well as our Oath of Fire as well. Next, we're going to get Blasphemous Favor, which is basically Remnant Orbs every single time we kill an enemy with a gun or melee damage, or if our Wyvern Companion does it, it will spawn an orb. Unfortunately, this does not spawn if you kill them with ability damage, which is a bit unfortunate, because if it did, it'd be really, really excellent with Storm Smite. Now, right off the bat, we're at a point where we need to put points somewhere else. We already established that we want Dedication to get our barrages back as soon as possible, but you might be wondering whether or not I want points into Radiance or Rebuke. Since we're trying to optimize Dedication, we don't want any points into Radiance because this doesn't increase our shield recharge rate or delay, so it's going to, in theory, be worse off if we get it, because the larger our ward capacity gets, the longer it takes for it to reload, unfortunately. We're not going to get any points into Radiance. I would argue that Radiance is probably a skill you most likely wouldn't want to get in most cases, but we got 4 points in Dedication, so we can go down to this part. So we don't want to deal more damage with our Wyvern Companion. Of course we could, but we're trying to optimize Storm Smite, so let's not worry about the Wyvern Companion. So we're going to put points into Firebolt, gives us gun damage, which is great for us, as well as Storm Breath, just because it allows us to get some damage reduction, which then allows us to get some survivability, as well as getting a Chain Lightning effect on your pet. And normally Chain Lightning is really good. And once again, we're at a point where we can't put any more points into the tree, so let's go back to Dedication. We're going to put 1 more point into that to maximize our action skill cooldown, and then we're at a standstill once again. I don't think Rebuke is going to be worth it unless it gets scaling or its Reflect damage. Maybe the Reflect damage will act as ability damage and it scales in some way that we're not expecting, but at the moment I don't really think the extra damage reduction is really that important, especially because of the points we're going to get into Spore Warden. So let's get some points into Oath of Thunder. One reason why Oath of Thunder is really good is because now our companion will deal bonus lightning damage, as well as Oath of Fire makes our companion deal bonus fire damage. That means our companion deals fire and shock, which allows it to proc awe at all times. Every single time we deal fire damage, we gain increased critical hit damage, which is excellent. And whenever we deal lightning damage, we also get increased critical hit chance. So every single time the Wyvern attacks, we're going to get both effects, which is excellent. Next, we're going to get Indomitable. One combo that people don't really talk about with Indomitable is that we know that it brings you back from fight for your life, restores your ward, great for Dedication, stuff like that. But you could, in theory, use Indomitable as a way to down yourself on purpose. Give yourself bonus lightning damage on demand for quick one-shot boss kills in theory, or even to speed kill certain bosses that are hard. So keep this skill in mind. It might be a really good tactic to down yourself on purpose if you're trying to deal large amounts of damage. And once again, we're at a point where we need to put 1 point into the tree previously, so let's put 1 more point into Oath of Thunder. It's nice to get some bonus melee damage as well, so Oath of Thunder is kind of nice for that as well. And finally, we have Storm Smite. Now, Storm Smite's there. That means we can move on and put 14 points into Spore Warden, which is great. So we have 5 points into Bounty of Hunt, 5 points into Affinity. Now, Affinity increases our ability damage, and Storm Smite does ability damage, as well as Barrage. So our Barrage is going to get bonus damage from Affinity as well as our Storm Smite, so we get dual synergy right there. Next, we can put 1 point into the pet reviving you, which does increase our damage once it revives us, which is nice. One could argue that you might not even need this because we have Indomitable in the skill tree as well, but it will be very nice for bossing when we don't have any ads to kill. And then next, we want to put 1 point into Spore Cloud, which I could argue for this particular synergy with Storm Smite might be one of the most important skills to get, because this will make the pet taunt, which will allow you to have high uptime of your ward being near max, and the higher our ward is, the faster we regenerate our barrages. So Spore Cloud is very important to get if you're trying to optimize your Dedication to get more barrages. Now we're just left off with 2 more points. Now there's a multiple ways that you can put points into the skill tree here. I wouldn't say Kindred Heart or Bullseye would be anything that you'd want to put into, because gun critical hit chance is multiplicative. It probably won't be that impactful for you, while Quiver holding increases your ammo, allows you also to regenerate ammo. So it could, in theory, if you're using large magazine guns, to regenerate your ammo to allow you to have a higher DPS, as well as Windrunner, which says every single time we kill an enemy, we increase our movement speed. But the important part is that we increase our fire rate. This effect can stack, but we don't know how far it can stack. It's probably safe to say it only stacks up to 2 times, but we don't know. It could stack up maybe even 10 times. We have no clue. But if it stacks up high enough, it could give us a ton of fire rate, which does increase our DPS by a large amount. And we don't have any fire rate anywhere else. So it's probably safe to say that Windrunner would probably be best to get. But then you think about Eagle Eye, which increases our gun damage, which then increases our Barrage because the Barrage deals more damage based on the amount of gun damage we deal. So at this point, you got to think whether or not you want to increase your total DPS with fire rate or increase your Barrage damage. For me, until I see how much fire rate that Windrunner is going to give, I think it's safe to put 2 points into Eagle Eye to optimize the barrages, because we're going to be dealing most of our damage from activating your action skill. So why not optimize it further by getting the 2 last points in the Eagle Eye? And that's pretty much it. This is the skill tree I'm going to try to gun for as soon as I get multi-classing on my Spore Warden. It's going to allow you to spam Storm Smite. And not only that, since we're level 40, we can finally look at our hero stats, which then we can look at our backstory as well. Now, there's 2 different backstories that we know of. I'm going to pick Rat Pack because it increases our attunement by +5, which allows us to get 5% action skill cooldown rate when you max that out, 25% even more, which is great for optimizing your barrages. So that's always going to be a given to maximize your attunement if you're going for a Storm Smite spam build. Next, we're going to probably increase our critical hit damage, because critical hit damage multipliers are usually really important in Borderlands, so that's probably a given on almost every single build. And next, since we're going to be dealing a lot of different elements, we're probably going to put the rest of our points into Wisdom to increase our status effect damage. It's possible I might put the points in Intelligence, but it's safe to say, since we're dealing so many different types of dots with just Clawbringer, aka fire and lightning, status effect damage is probably going to be the way to go as long as it scales well endgame. Now, you might be thinking that Rat Pack might be a bad idea because we're going to get -4% critical hit chance right off the bat, but this -4 is only multiplicative, which means it's not going to impact us that much. So this -4, everyone knows, or you should know, the base crit for every single thing in the game, aka ability damage, gun damage, melee, spells, companion damage, and dot damage has a 5% chance of critting. You might think this -4% brings that base crit to 1%, but because this critical hit chance is multiplicative, that means, pull out a calculator real quick for you. You can put it into the formula like this. That's your multiplicative crit multiplier with the -4% critical hit chance, which just means we can pump it into a formula like that, which means our base crit will now be 4.8%, which isn't significant at all. So you don't have to worry about having less dexterity. It's not going to matter that much. And because it's multiplicative, it might even be best to never put a bunch of points in dexterity. We'll see how the meta performs in the future. And there you go. We're going to be dealing lots of gun damage with Oath of Fire. We're going to have elemental damage in our damage formula at all times with Dragon Aurora, as well as having Revenant Orbs from our Clawbringer and having an optimized way to spam Storm Smite now. So this is going to be my go-to build. I'm really hoping it's going to work out well. It's possible Storm Smite not even be powerful late game, but since it's an end cap, I'm going to hope that it scales properly and deals lots of damage end game or as soon as you unlock it, but we'll have to see. But for now, this is the way you want to optimize Storm Smite, and I'm very excited to get my hands on the game and try this ASAP. I think it's going to be really nutty, and it's very exciting for me because it just will allow me to jumpstart my gimmicky build methods that I have been doing for Borderlands 3 since the creation of this channel. And as always, a big shout out to the members who make these videos possible. We have Jace Noodles, Clairvoyance, and Rick Iglesias. These are the people who support me as little as $5 a month, and you can also support me as little as $5 a month by becoming a member with the comments in the description or on the top right. The more members we have, the closer I get to becoming full-time, which means more videos for you guys. So as always, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and I hope you all have a great day. Bye-bye.
And the last shall be first to immerse in a pass out heat, facing him out with a moxie melt till he woke up drowning in tchotchke hell. War in a cave with a torch on a wall, then a window arrangement of porcelain dolls.